Hello, welcome as you're hopping in. I'm excited for us to get started shortly. We have just a couple minutes before we'll begin. Second. There we go, just getting my tech set up. If you'd like, we'd love for you to take a moment to introduce yourself. We're gonna have a quick little poll that you can fill out. There we go. We'd just love to hear a little bit about where you are in your membership creation journey. All right. And we'll be getting started in just a second. Making sure I have all my tech lined up. There we go. Hey, Lamont, welcome. If you'd like to, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. I'd love to hear a little bit about where you're from, what your membership is, so we can support you with that today. Hi, Matt, welcome. As you're coming in, we have a super quick poll where you can just give us a little bit of information about where you are on the path of creating your membership site. And we'll be diving in just a minute or two. You can also take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat if you would like. We have that chat turned on now. You can change it to everyone rather than hosts and panelists. So that way everyone can see your responses. I would just love to know, where are you in the world and what is your membership? How do you help people? What are you working with? Hey, Matt from LA, hello, hello. What is your membership, Matt? What are you working on? Okay. Fantastic. We'll give folks just another minute to hop on live. Now is a fantastic time if you want to grab a snack, if you'd like to grab something to drink. This is webinar style. We cannot see you or hear you. You are safe behind your screen. So feel free to care for yourself in whatever way you need. Okay. Matt's in the research phase. We're planning to wrap a membership around Notion. Okay, fantastic. Awesome. We do also have Paige here today. Paige is on the MemberSpace support team and is extremely knowledgeable about everything that we do here at MemberSpace. So if you have any questions during the training that she can answer, she will hop right in and help you all out with that. And I'm going to go ahead and dive in. I do see we have some folks here who have started their website. Everyone's purchased a domain. Fantastic. And then you are looking at Notion, Matt said, and then undecided. Okay, great. Let me, one moment. Hi, Shirley, great to see you. Let me just, having one of those mild little tech days. Everything's just taken me a second to get together. We'll be starting in just a moment. Shirley, if you'd like to take a minute to introduce yourself in the chat, I would love to know what your membership is about and where you are in the world. We just have a super quick poll where you can share a little bit about what you're working on, where you are in the process of making your membership website. All right, fantastic. All right, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and dive in. You are muted, Shirley. Yes, thank you for asking. This is a webinar style. We cannot see you. We cannot hear you. You are safe to do whatever you need to do while we're on this training. Shirley, if you'd like, you can change your chat to everyone instead of hosts and panelists, and that way everyone can see what you're writing. We did not hear your microwave, Shirley. Do not worry. Yes, webinar style. You are all set. Okay, y'all, fantastic. We have a host that just came on. Welcome. Fantastic, Shirley. All right, y'all, we have that quick poll for you to fill out just as you're coming through the digital door. That'll help me to know where you are in your process. And as I was just saying to Shirley, this is webinar style. We cannot see you or hear you. You are safe behind your screen. With that, let's go ahead and get diving in. If you're just joining us, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We would love to know what your membership is or what your idea is. So we're going to learn today about launching your membership site, right? About what it actually takes to get it done and how to do it as quickly as possible. And I confess, I have built sites before, so I have some experience here, but I did everything that we're talking about today in under a day. It actually only took me a couple hours. So I'm really hopeful that this is going to be a fantastic way to get you onboarded and get your membership rolling ASAP. Before we get started, just a couple little housekeeping things. Please make sure you have some way to take notes. We're covering a lot of information today. You also may want to take some screenshots or take a photo with your phone. It doesn't matter to me. I want to make sure you don't miss anything that we're talking about. And as I mentioned, we can't see you or hear you. You're welcome to have a snack, have a glass of water, whatever you need to feel supported on our training today. If you're able to, please go ahead and close other browsers or windows. If you can, put your phone on silent. I know you can't always. That will give you the opportunity to be very present here. Shirley is having lunch. Great, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Lunch and learn. I love it, Shirley. Go ahead and change your chat to everyone. I think everyone has done that so far, but that will make sure that you are communicating with everyone else in the chat, and that Paige, who is here to help you in the chat from our MemberSpace support team, can assist you as well if you need anything. If you have any specific questions for me during the training while I'm presenting, please put them in the Q&A feature on your screen. That actually holds the questions, it saves them, so I don't miss them, just in case we're having a conversation in the chat. That will make it really easy for me to follow up later. Okay, so real quick, I'm Sarah. Hello, it is so nice to meet you. I'm the membership business coach here at MemberSpace. I have been teaching and coaching online for 7 years. I've worked with thousands of small online business owners just like y'all and specialize in memberships. So this is my jam. I'm so excited to get to work with you today, answer your questions, and help you learn how to build your website very quickly so you can get members ASAP. So the first thing you're going to learn today is the key web pages you need in order to launch and what can wait, right? We want to make sure we're really prioritizing the most important, highest value actions so that you're not spending weeks or even months, or I hate to say it, I've seen it, years, waiting to launch your membership. You're also going to learn how to quickly create some simple design guidelines so your site looks professional and trustworthy. This is really important. You probably experience this as a customer, right? If you go to a website and it's hard to read and it looks kind of weird and it looks a little homemade or something looks off, you're less likely to buy. So we're going to talk about really simple ways to do this, even if you're not a designer. I am not a designer, so we're going to make sure that this is super simple for you to do. We're also going to just touch on the easiest way to use MemberSpace to protect your website so you can get started getting those members today. MemberSpace makes it so unbelievably easy to get going. So we're going to touch on that today. Shirley used to be a web designer, fantastic, but you are already ahead of the game. I hope that you'll still find something useful here, but we're going to make sure that we are streamlining what you're using, because as a web designer too, you know all the big possibilities of what's possible, and sometimes that can get in the way, right? Like when we're really good at something, it can stop us from doing the simplest version. So I'm hoping this will reinforce your any simplicity so you can get action and get your membership launched. So first of all, just a quick overview of what we need to do to set up your website. Most of you have already taken these actions according to our poll, but I'll just reiterate them real quick. You will need a domain name, right? Your domain name is your address on the internet. Like for example, MemberSpace is at memberspace.com. Domain name can really be anything you want. It could be your name, it can be your company name, it can be the name of your membership, but it does need to exist. There are a lot of places you can purchase a domain name. GoDaddy, Google, whatever you need will be there. Those are both very simple and easy ones to do. We don't really have a preference to recommend, but you will need a domain name. This is one of those things where people can get a little caught up, right? You want the right domain name. It is possible to change it later, but I do know that it's kind of a big decision to make. When in doubt, just your company name or your name, if you are the face of your brand, is often good enough. You will also need a content management system. This is what actually builds and displays your website. Looks like quite a few of you have already selected them. This is basically the piece where you will go in and actually put your content in it, right? Actually put your photos, actually have the content for your members. A lot of our users here at MemberSpace love Show It. It's super easy, drag and drop page builder, makes it simple to do exactly what we're talking about today. Squarespace, of course, is very popular and who we started with, really user-friendly and easy to get started. WordPress, popular as well, a little bit more challenging, though Shirley, probably up your alley potentially. WordPress does have a lot of flexibility, Webflow, etc. In our documentation on MemberSpace, which you can find at help.memberspace.com, we do go over how to integrate MemberSpace with all of these different tools. So whatever you pick, if it's something that we integrate with, it will be easy to make sure that you are able to install MemberSpace. It is possible you'll need a host. If you have a WordPress site in particular, you may need to buy hosting separately. Most of the ones that we've mentioned here, Showit, Squarespace, Webflow, actually come with hosting, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you are someone who's a bit more of a DIYer, then with WordPress in particular, you will need a host. SiteGround, Kinsta, Bluehost are all popular hosts. And then of course, finally, you need MemberSpace, right? You actually need to install MemberSpace onto your CMS. That is what's going to help you to be able to protect all of your member pages and start to collect revenue from what you're making. Shirley says, as a professional pixel pusher, I love it. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I am learning how to say good enough. Excellent, Shirley. Then I'm really glad you're here. I think you'll get a lot out of this today, giving you official membership business coach permission to keep it simple. I'm glad you like Squarespace. A lot of our clients really love Squarespace. So we're going to talk about how to design your brand. All right, most of us, Shirley accepted, probably are not designers. And if you're just starting with your membership, you might not want to invest in working with a brand designer right up front. It can be a big investment, a worthy one, but it might stop you from getting your membership launched as quickly as possible. So when we're looking at designing your brand, there are three things from a sales perspective, which is my area of expertise. Again, not a designer. I am a conversion sales person. That is my job, is helping you get more customers. From that perspective, from actually getting more members, your website has to do three things. First of all, it has to be legible. By this, I literally mean that people need to be able to read it. One of the biggest mistakes I see when folks make their own websites is that they're very hard to read. We'll talk about some specifics in a minute, but often the colors are hard to look at, the font sizes are wrong, or they're kind of challenging fonts to read. We'll look at some examples in a minute. If people cannot read what is on your website, I promise you they will not buy from you. It's very tempting to make your website really fancy and fun and like the most delightful expression of yourself. But unless you're a professional designer, often it ends up looking messy. Also, your website needs to be scannable. I got to break it to you right now, if you don't know already from your own internet usage, people do not read. So we want to make it easy for them to read, okay? But we want to make sure that when they are looking at it quickly, that they will still get the key points. If you need an example of what this means, I recommend that you go to a newspaper web page like the New York Times, all right? When you go to the New York Times, you actually don't read it in a linear fashion like you're reading a book. Your eye is bouncing around the page, going from headline to subheader, to an image, to a this, to a that. Your eye kind of scans back and forth, looking for something that strikes it, that makes it feel like it's important. Unlike a book where we have this really linear progression generally into how we approach reading, or more linear. So we want to make sure that your page stands out by having, again, being clearly easy to read, but also is setting up in a way so there are headers, there are scannable things like bullet points and other design things that help your page to be easy to read. Finally, we need it to be navigable. People need to be able to find their way around. Fortunately, MemberSpace makes it super easy because it actually will make an automatic member menu for you. I'll show you for this later. You don't even have to build navigation. It's amazing. But we want to make sure that people can actually find what they want on your page. And in this case, a lot of times it comes with, can they actually find the buy button? Can they find the information they need? Does it make sense? I'll mention this probably again, but the best way to check this is to have somebody who hasn't been helping you with it look at it. Ask a friend, ask a colleague, a partner. If you have someone who's a little older in your life, or you are, maybe ask a friend, making sure that everything is seeable, even if somebody's site isn't as good. I can't see very well, I'm wearing glasses right now, that somebody who has a different level of internet knowledge than you can also see it. Think of it like having somebody proofread, except you want to make sure that they understand your page. Thank you, Shirley. I'm getting some yeses from Shirley, which makes me feel good. I appreciate it. So we want to keep these three things in mind with everything else we talk about today. So colors, I'm going to recommend that we keep things so simple for your website, because again, we want this to happen as quickly as possible. And that means making limits. For most of you, picking only 2 colors for your website is going to be plenty. As soon as we add 3 or more, designing it so that it's coherent and still looks professional becomes much more complex and is going to be hard. Again, raising my hand here, not a designer, for those of us that are not designers. I've even worked with branding professionals where I have like a palette of 5 colors and I still have a hard time figuring out how to use them correctly when I'm building a website. So we'll look at some examples in a second, but I recommend just picking a core color that you like, or maybe you already have a core color from your brand that you envision it. We then want to also pick one accent color. We'll show you some examples of what this might look like, but an accent color would often be what you would have for a link or perhaps for a button on your page. And then I'm going to let you in on my big secret, which is using tints and shades of those colors on your website. I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like in a minute. We're actually going to hop over into my browser and I'm going to show you some resources. But the big thing I want to take away here is that simple is better. And it's very tempting to have lots of cool colors. But again, unless you're a professional designer, it is likely that your website's going to end up looking muddy. It is better to have fewer colors. It will look more professional, even if it's not the perfect embodiment of your brand. Once your membership is up and running, you can work with somebody who will help you to make it better. So let's dive in. I'm going to stop this screen share. We're going to head over to another screen and I'm going to share. Let me make sure I have that right. 1 second. We will be bouncing around just a little bit today because I have to get all of these pieces together. Okay. 1 sec. Thank you for your patience. You know, it's amazing what we can do with tech and it still takes a minute. There we are. So this is a little tool that Canva has. If you're not familiar with Canva, Canva is there's a free and paid version. It's kind of like a Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop for those of us who don't know how to design. It's a really great tool that you can get started with for free. And they have this color wheel. If you search Canva color wheel, this will come up. What this does, and it has a little description of color theory if you're interested in that, but what this does is help you to easily pick a color that is complementary. So what we might do, if you already have a color you like, you can put the hex code in here. A hex code is a unique 6-digit identifier for a color, and most colors on websites are read in hex codes. So if you're in Squarespace or you're in Webflow, you can enter the hex code and it will pull up your color. So here, for example, we can just play around and see you love purple. You're like, oh, I want purple to be the core of my brand. And I'm just dragging and dropping this, pulling it in and out, playing around and looking at what that is. Like, ooh, that's kind of fun, right? I kind of like this like royal purple and this light olivey green. You can play around with it. You can make them lighter. You can make them darker. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. This does have some other versions. You can do monochromatic, which we won't need because we'll use it a little bit differently. Analogous gives you 3 similar ones. Triadic can be fun, but again, I'm recommending probably just 2 colors. So you don't have to do it this way, but if you're someone who pairing colors doesn't come naturally to, this is a really great way to find a primary and a secondary color that you can use. And you will get these hex codes right here, copy them, save them somewhere. You will use them when you are actually designing your website. Does anyone have a color they want us to work with today? I like this. Shirley left Photoshop for Canva. It is that powerful and easy to use. I completely agree. I have mild Photoshop skills. And as soon as I got on Canva, I was like, I'm good. I don't need to do that anymore. I really like red. And actually my sample page is using a kind of a red. So I might go in this direction for now. In this case, I'm probably going to use the blue as the primary color. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. All right. And now I'm going to show you my super fancy website design secret. One of the things you often don't notice on a website is that in a lot of brands, the white and the black on a website are actually not pure white and pure black. This is because sometimes it actually looks a little bit harsh on the eyes. It depends on the design and the other colors for sure. But it's also the default on a lot of websites. So a very subtle way to stand out is to actually use tints. So I'm going to show you this great tool, color-hex.com. This is free. This is just a site. I copied that hex code and I'm pasting it in now. Well, except it didn't copy. 1 second. Copy and paste. All right, and I'm pressing enter. Well, I don't know what is going on with my tech stuff today. It's like everything I'm doing is not working. One second, let's try that again. There we go. Okay, thank you for your patience. So I have just entered in that hex code. Again, that's a unique identifier for the color. And we pulled up the color. We scroll down here. Now's when the magic happens. This is showing you different shades, so getting darker, and different tints getting lighter of this core color. And this is my again, very low key, but really great way to just up the website a little bit. Instead of using a pure black for a body font, for example, you can use a very, very, very dark version of your color. This will just create a little bit more subtlety, and it ties it in a little bit visually. It is maybe not going to be noticeable to your eye, but it creates a little bit of softness in the page. And in my opinion, just makes it pop and make it a little bit more professional without having to actually do anything. And then we can use a tint as a white. This version of the tint they're showing here, white FFF, is what is the hex code for white. This one looks a little bit blue, like it would actually show up as blue. So I'm going to click into that. You can click any of those, come back down. Look at all these nice, very, very light ones, right? So this is a very, very subtle blue tint here. Again, still related to our core color. I'm going to copy that and use that as my background. And just in case you don't believe me, we'll go into this more. I just want to show you, this is something I made. This background here is not white. This is a very, very, very light blue. This font here is a very, very, very dark blue. And when I made this page, which as you see has a huge amount of white space with pure white and pure black, it was really harsh on the eyes. It made them a little more tired. By changing it in this way, it's a little bit more subtle, it's a little more refined. And when I came down here, we'll be looking at this more in close, I also used one of those bluer tints as another color here because I needed a different background color, okay? So this is my little secret tip. Super simple, you don't have to do anything other than just copy and paste and then pick some tints to work with. Let's see, I love this. Shirley says that's one of my favorite palette hacks. Awesome, I'm glad that works for you too. It's just such an easy way to expand it. And now we have more colors to work with. Like again, this is like the shade of blue that I picked for that box, but you only still have 2 colors. All right, let me stop that share. We're gonna go back over in. Before I keep going right now, do we have any questions? Do any of you already have your colors picked? I would love to know. Is anyone having a little bit of a like, oh, only 2 colors, that's not enough? Really, again, the goal is to make this as clean, as simple, and professional as possible in the shortest period of time. And that does mean making it easier. I love this. Shirley has a For Now palette working to get going. Exactly, right? And all of this can be updated. That's the best thing about websites. They're easy to change. So if you make it so that it's really clear now, you'll be able to update it more later. All right, let's get back over here. So we went over this, picking a core color, how to find an accent color that works well with it, and a white and black tint of the core color, as well as a way to just make it a little bit more professional and give you some more options. I do just want to offer a quick tip, which is to check your color contrast accessibility. If you just do a Google search for color contrast accessibility, you'll see a ton of websites where you can enter in your colors, specifically a text font color and a background color, and make sure that it's accessible. This is checking to make sure that there's enough contrast that people with different kinds of vision can actually read it. And I have a good example here. If you look at my slides, this red color of this pin, push pin on the pink, you almost can't see it, right? On the upper left-hand corner, it does not translate well, at least not on my screen. So it's really good to just check this. This will make sure that your website is legible to people with different vision and people who are colorblind, etc. All right, let's keep going. We also need to pick some fonts, right? So here is where I'm going to stand on my digital soapbox. Please make sure your fonts are legible, that they can be read. This is the #1 purpose of a font, is to communicate the words and the information that they hold. And when we're building our own websites, and if you're in a website builder, let's say you're on Squarespace, you're on Showit, there might be a bunch of different font options. It's very tempting to pick the one that looks the coolest, right? Or the one that looks the most fun, or that you think will stand out the most. But if people cannot read it, again, they will not buy. I'm going to show some examples in a minute and we'll dive in on how to think about this. But we want to make sure that your display font, which is the font that you might use for a header, these are generally a little bit fancier, generally a little bit more fun, and often not as easy to read. We want to make sure that it is legible. Your customers need to be able to read it or they will not buy, right? It's a huge friction point. They're going to navigate away. We don't want them to work too hard. Everyone's so busy. We want to reduce the cognitive load for understanding your website. We also want to make sure that the body font, the actual blocks of text, are easy to read. A big mistake that people make is using a display font for a body font. And because they're not very legible, it's very hard to read. You want to imagine reading an entire book in one of these really funky fonts. You wouldn't be able to do it. So let's go and take a quick look at some fonts. I love this. Shirley, you're with me. We're going to talk about script fonts. Shirley says, don't use script fonts for paragraphs. I could not agree more. Script fonts have been really popular recently, the past several years, which is great. They're really pretty. They're very hard to read. So Google Fonts is a really great free resource. Fonts.google.com, I believe, or you can search Google Fonts, where you can look at a bunch of different fonts. Your website builder, if you're using something like Squarespace or like Webflow, it might have built-in font options. So of course you can also look there. But what I like about this, at least for our purposes right now, is I can show you the difference between a display font and other kinds of fonts. So if you come here to the left-hand side, you can look at categories. I'm going to actually uncheck everything except for display right now. And you can see that some of these are pretty fun. They're not really legible. Look at this, Rubik puddles. Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity, I'm leaning in and squinting to try to read that. It's so cool looking, but it's hard to read. Maybe if it were just one word, I could handle it, but to read even a short sentence is too much. Something like this, fold it, that looks super cool. I can't read it at all, right? So we want to be mindful that these still need to show up, but this is what a display font is, right? They're usually these fonts that are a little bit fun, maybe a little bit more bold, maybe a little cursive. Sometimes they're really kind of playful. Something like NovaCut is really popular right now. This is a great example of one that's really interesting, right? It's got a lot going on, but it's legible. You can definitely read it. So finding the balance between fun, which is great, we love fun, and readability is the most important thing with your font. And when you're in doubt, please go on the side of readability, even if you think it makes you a little bit more boring. I promise you would rather be slightly boring than have it so that people actually cannot read it. Shirley, totally. I was just going to talk about that as well. We'll look at the script fonts real quick because it's exactly that. So handwriting fonts, script fonts, a lot of these are really, really beautiful and super fun. I love script, but to Shirley's point, first of all, not everyone knows how to read script at this point. We don't actually use it that much. I don't know how much it's taught in schools right now. And some of these are more readable than others, right? Something like this, Mr. Defoe, that looks cool, but it's hard to read. It's a thicker font. That bold is kind of hard to read sometimes. And combined with the script, it's challenging. There's some here, I like this one, the Tangerine. This is an example of a script font that is pretty legible, partially because it's not actually a script, right? They're not connected, so it's a little bit easier to read. You get some of these fun flourishes, but you can actually read it. There were a couple I was looking earlier. I wanted a good example of one where I was like, I can't read that, and I do read script. Oh, here we go, right? This Err von Muellerhoff, cannot read it. So I love this from Shirley. If you didn't write it, could you read it? Right? And that is so critical. And again, a great example of when you want someone else to look at your website who is not you. Mrs. St. Delafield, this is illegible on a website. It looks beautiful. If it were a signature, it wouldn't matter, right? A lot of these are kind of signature fonts. But if it's on your website, really hard to read. And then for your body font, right, we're usually looking at either a sans serif or a serif. The difference between them doesn't matter too much, but a serif, you can see here, has these little wings, if you will, on the fonts. You can see it really clearly on the W's, where there's these little hats on them. And then sans serif doesn't have those. Most body fonts are going to fall into a serif or sans serif. I really love keeping it simple here. Don't worry about being cool. Make sure people can read it. That is if I can give you anything today, Things like Roboto, Open Sans is one of my favorite, really, really clear, easy to read. Montserrat's a very popular one. Lato, also really lovely. They don't need to be challenging to read in order to be interesting, because this is what's going to be the body font. This is all the text. Yes, definitely. Shirley says sans serifs are considered easier to read, so most big businesses and website only use that. And commonly you'll see something where a serif display font might be paired with a sans serif body, and not necessarily. That's not a rule. So these, you can just see they're easy to read. You could read an entire paragraph. It should theoretically be something you could read an entire book in, okay? I appreciate, Shirley, you're here. You're helping me so much and giving such great insight and feedback. Does anybody else have any questions on the difference between these two fonts or anything there? We're gonna look at some examples of actual pages shortly, which will help some of this to click. All right. Feel free to drop those questions if you have them. I will also mention that I find that body fonts are often too small on a website page. My recommendation is that they're size 16 to 18. It depends on the font, but again, it should be something that you can read a fair amount of comfortably. And often we want them to be at maybe 1.5 line width. Your line height is basically the height between different lines, and that is usually a setting. Sometimes you just have single and double, or single 1.5 and double. That's fine, but you want a little bit of space between them. If you can, it makes it easier to read. If you look at a website like Medium, for example, which is a big text-based website, you'll see that these are the kinds of settings that people have for long reads. The whole goal, again, it sounds like I'm being a little nitpicky, but if we're gonna have a simple website, we want it to be so easy for your potential members to read it. All right. So let's dive into building your website and what you need, the core things you need to actually have an effective membership website. Again, very quickly up and going, right? We have your colors picked. You already have your domain name. Y'all are all on top of that. We have some fonts, and now we want to go to the basics of the website. So your membership website needs a few things, right? First, we need a public page, a page that is not protected, a page that is open to the public. And for the purposes of getting your website up fast, often this will also act as a sales page for your membership. If you already have an existing website and you're kind of tacking something on, you can have the sales page as a separate page. But if you're making a brand new website for your membership, which most of you are, then the public homepage can just be the sales page to start. As your business grows, as your membership grows, you may add more things. Maybe you have a podcast and a blog, and then it needs to get fancier. But right now, today, it does not need to be fancy. It can be super easy and super clear. So the home page, the page people land on if they go to memberspace.com, sarahsfakemembership.com, is the sales page for the membership. You will also need a protected member homepage. This is the landing page for people who are signed into your membership, where they can find everything else that is included inside their membership. We're going to look at examples of all of these, don't worry. You may have some member pages that you need to protect. So if you, for example, have videos for your members, or you have a blog, or you want them to be able to book a call with you or attend an event, all of that information can be on protected member pages, and we'll take a look at that. And I just have to mention, I'm not a lawyer, but depending on where you live, you may have some legal statements that are required for an active website. Some of these are going to be baked in if you have something like a Squarespace. Sometimes they will include resources on how to do this, but you likely need a privacy policy and potentially a terms and conditions on your website. There are a lot of places where you can purchase templates. If you have a more complicated business structure, you may need a lawyer there. But I do want to mention that technically most websites, depending on your jurisdiction, might need some legal statements that are usually an additional page, like a privacy policy page, which you've probably seen before. So let's start at the top, right? The home page. What do you actually need on this first page that people are going to land on when they find your membership, when you send them there, when they click on the link in your bio on Instagram and they want to learn more? A sales page is a whole conversation in itself. We actually have a sales page training coming up next week, a workshop where we'll be diving into sales pages in much greater depth. It may not be what you need right now, but you can keep an eye out for that training in the future when you're ready to go a little bit deeper. But we have a few things we need on a sales page that, at least in my opinion, are going to help you get sales, right? Which is the entire point. And we'll look at an example of all of this very shortly. You need a header, you need a transformation statement header, something that's really clear about what the membership is, who it's for, and what they could get out of it. All right. We want people to land on this page and be like, oh, ooh, that's interesting. That could be for me. Or if it's not for them to be like, oh, wait, I don't need that. And they can leave. All right. Your home sales page needs very clear calls to action. In this case, buying, right? You need to tell people to actually buy the membership. Really important. I see a lot of sales pages where it's hard to find the buy button. No, no, no. We want to make this very easy, very clear. Your sales page also needs to paint a picture of the before and the after for your members. Where are they now? What challenges are they having? What are they experiencing that makes them interested in your membership? And where could they be? What might become possible for them as they are in your membership? Now, depending on what your membership is, this can look really different, right? If you are basically creating a custom Patreon because you're a musician or a writer, the before and after is not quite as like straightforward as if you're creating, for example, a how to build your own website membership, right? Or something like that. But we do need to help people see the value and why they should participate in your membership. And we'll look at some examples in a minute. We also want to clearly state the features of your membership, like what do they get, but we want to make sure we tie those to the benefits. Why should they care about that thing? A big mistake on sales pages is just listing all of these like nitty gritty features without tying them to the outcome or benefit that they give. Like 15-page PDFs, right? Or 700 hours of video training, which would be a lot. Those things don't actually mean anything. What we want to know is what they make possible. What is the benefit? Why does it matter? We ideally want some testimonials, right? We want a little bit of social proof that you know what you're doing, that people have worked with you or collaborated with you and still like you enough to say something nice about your work. And then, of course, we need the price. All right. So let's go and hop out and take a look at this template I made. Oh, I love this. Shirley says, a website's one and only job is to communicate information. If visitors can't read the words, the website failed. Shirley, I love this. You and I are on the same page today. It is so great to hear, and I appreciate the affirmation because it's especially if you're building your own website. If it's not what you do, it can just be so fun. Like you want to like make it playful and enjoyable and really fun for folks. But that doesn't actually translate to sales. So here is a super, super, super simple template. And then I'll show you what it looks like fleshed out with some I made a fake membership for you guys today with a fake membership. Before you look at this and you say, there's no way you can make sales off of something like this, I have to tell you, I have generated a lot of revenue in memberships with very similar page to just what this header looks like. So simple, no fancy graphics, no photos, just very, very clear copy, very, very clear communications. So sometimes it's easy to think that fancy is better, and it's great to have great design and great photos and all of that. But I am a big fan of simple sales pages anyway, especially for when we're just trying to get that membership up. So we want to start with a transformational header, something that speaks to why the customer should care. Why should they want it, right? And then a subheader, right? Often this is where you'll also put the title of your membership potentially. We'll look at this, some examples in a moment. And you want to give them an opportunity to join, right? Right up front. Now, this is really important to have above the fold. Above the fold, if you are someone who doesn't read newspapers. Does people read newspapers anymore? That comes from an actual printed newspaper where it is folded in half. And the part on the front page above the fold is always the most important, like the top headlines, the biggest stories, right? So the phrase above the fold is supposed to refer to what is visual when you pick up the newspaper, or in the case of a website, when you land on the website page, what people see without having to scroll. And it should be the most important thing. A lot of times when people build sales pages, they have these really big, pretty headers that have no information, and people have to scroll to actually find the information. This means that it's harder for your customer to figure out if they're in the right place. So I recommend, especially for a home sales page, just have it there. Whether they're on their phone, whether they're on their desktop, we want them to just see it. And we also do want a buy button up top because people might be coming to your page a second time or a third time. They already have some information and they don't need to read all of this, right? They're ready to buy. So you can just put this buy button. And with MemberSpace, you can just link this button to your member plan link. You'll be able to get that easily and it'll pop up and they'll be able to buy. It is so simple. You don't have to like make another checkout cart or anything like that. That's all baked into MemberSpace. So here's a really straightforward version of this where we can have something where we're going to basically ask, are you this kind of person who has these problems? Are you having these challenges? Things that your customers want to change and can change through your membership. And we can make some kind of statement like, okay, you can do that, right? And we're here to help you. Don't need to take this literally. This is an example. These are really great to work on. And as you workshop this, if you're a Pro Plan member, you can actually come to live coaching calls with me, which I run on Thursdays, and we can actually get into this copy a little bit more intensely as well. And then we want to tell them like, okay, great, you have these problems, no worries. We can help you change them. We can help you have this experience. We can help you feel this way. We can help you get this benefit. Then we want some small story, right? A little bit of a bio about you. If your company is not one where you're the face of the company, this would be a little bit of the company bio. And ideally, this is something that actually mirrors the story of the ideal client and lets you know that you understand their problems. And it also will show them how you became to be an expert in this area. And this should be a picture of you, not me, right? But a little founder bio here, short and sweet. And then we want to paint the future, right? So this is the before I mentioned, and here is the after. The things that they want that your membership helps them to achieve. Okay, what are they going to feel like when they are able to do X, Y, Z? What is it going to be like in their lives when they easily wake up at 6 in the morning without an alarm because they are taking care of themselves in whatever way your membership helps them with? And if this is something like we're looking at an example in a minute, which is a website that helps people plan hiking trips, right? You can still see how this would work, where it'd be like easily enjoy your trip to majestic XYZ, without, having to plan and stay up all night worried about your route and all of these things. We have another buy button. God, put them everywhere. And a little testimonial. All right. And here, just a little list of the cool things they get, right? Here's this cool thing you get with your membership, which helps you to get to this place faster, better, easier. Join again. And then the price. I really like if you have two prices, a monthly and a yearly, for example, is really common, or a quarterly and a yearly. You can put them next to each other. You can put the value, like if you charged individually for each of the features, you could put that there, which can help people to see the value of the membership. Let's say if you have a yearly membership, maybe they get a special thing when they buy a year, you can do that. And then again, these just link out to the member plan link, super simple. You can also see over here the member menu, which is something we'll take a little bit more of a look at from MemberSpace. That's because I'm logged in right now. If I weren't, this would also show me a login button, which if they clicked it would say that they need a membership. We can do one more testimonial. I love putting a testimonial right after you show the price. It's a really great way to help to build more trust. And then another join now. Oh, this Shirley, above the scroll. Exactly. Above the scroll is exactly what I'm trying to say. Perfect. So let's just take a look at what this looks like filled in. All right. So I invented the membership for y'all. Welcome to the membership page. The transformation of the membership is growing your membership, right? Really simple. And what I did here was actually have a transformation, grow your membership without things that my customers tend to be worried about, right? Paid ads, endless social media, or stressful late nights. You can do a lot of different things here, but you'll see this speaks exactly to the ideal client and what they would want out of my membership. And then join the membership. Sorry, I have to laugh at my own jokes because I can't hear you if you're laughing or not. So I do it for myself. Right, are you a membership owner, right? That was the ideal client for this, right? Are you a rising real estate agent? Are you excited to visit Iceland? And, right, whatever it is that the thing is your membership helps people with. And here we just have some examples, right, of the problems you're having. They're overwhelmed trying to get new members, even though you know your membership helps people. You're committed to making your membership work, but not sure how many more late nights you can handle. You know you need better systems if you're going to scale, but you go cross-eyed just looking at a project management system. Okay, I bet this resonates with some of you. Something you can scale your membership without burning out, and you don't have to do it alone. So this whole top section is just letting people know above the scroll that they're in the right place if these are the problems they're having. This kind of mirroring really helps to build trust and ultimately is the most powerful way to communicate what your membership is about. We scroll down and there's a little quick bio with me, right? 4 years ago, I did this thing. At the time, I was only had this stuff, so I figured out some way to do something. And in this case, I end with a question: what will your membership make possible for you and your community? Right? I open the door to possibility. Really short bio. And then I paint the possibility of the future, right? In my membership, when they do this work, imagine how they'll feel when they're getting these kinds of results. They're launching high converting promotions. They're scaling their membership. They're setting up systems. Join now. And then here, John Doe, membership owner, right? The membership helped me scale my membership without all the annoying stuff and late nights and bad things, right? A really great testimonial helps people understand what is possible in the program. It's less like Sarah's amazing and more the program helped me to achieve this result. And then when you join, you get access to this cool thing, right? Members only content to take the guesswork out of scaling your membership. This is the key. Remember, we talked about features and benefit. The feature is the growing library. The benefit of having access to this library is that it takes the guesswork out of scaling your membership. There's a difference here. Instead of just listing a growing library of trainings, parentheses, 200 hours so far, step-by-step curriculum, 5 modules, 20 templates, whatever. I don't say any of that because it doesn't actually matter. What matters is what these things will make possible for the members. Live calls, so you can easily get your membership questions answered, private community. So you'll see here just quick, these are just stock photos that I got from unsplash.com. Unsplash.com has great free stock photos. It's a really cool tool to use. Do not waste a lot of time finding photos. That is a place where people get super, super lost, go way down the rabbit hole. If you want to have some photos, you can do this. You can also just put icons here, which can be really easy. This could also just be bullet points. You don't even need the photos. Join now. And then here's just an example of what that pricing looks like, right? This is, again, just an example, but you can see the expert content. If I filled that individually, it would be $1,000. Calls, let's say $350 value. And all this is doing is helping people to see what is included and how much it's really worth. Pricing is kind of a whole other conversation, but when we have all of these things in a membership, sometimes people don't see the full value. And then again, we have another testimonial and a button to join now. And Shirley is right. Canva Pro has great stock photos as well. Thank you so much for mentioning that, Shirley. That's a great tip. So if you do have Canva Pro, which is a great tool, not endorsed, it's just what I use and what Shirley uses as well. There's a lot of great icons and graphics and all sorts of stuff. And Matt says, can't beat it for $13 a month. It's a good deal. Yeah, you really get so much out of it. Good job, Canva. Great. Okay, so that was an example. Let's go back and we're just going to take a quick look at some of our client examples that we have here. Sorry for the slight back and forth, but I want to make sure we get to see this. So here's a great above the fold, above the scroll. The music workshop is one of our MemberSpace users, and I love this. Online music lessons that kids love. What a simple transformation statement, right? It is so unbelievably clear. And start playing piano, drums, and ukulele today, right? It's really speaking to the desire, especially for the parents, presumably, or the caregivers who are the ones that are buying this. And you'll also notice, right, it's a little bit messy with the text over the picture, but they basically have 2 primary colors here. There's this blue color, and then there's this orange color that they're using. The logo has more, but the whole website is basically orange, blue, and white. Very, very simple. And there's a button, in this case, they have a free trial to try it. So clear, it's entirely above the scroll, and the font, like, it's easy to read, online music lessons that kids love, and you know exactly what it is as soon as you land on it. Here's another one by another MemberSpace client, Cave Day. Cave Day is a co-working membership where people get together and they do like co-working sprints. So look at this, get more done in less time. Unbelievably simple, right? So clear. And here they have like a custom icon, you know, but I think this is such a great example where you can see that something like this, you probably could find and put into your colors that you picked. That wouldn't be quite this, but they have things like that in Canva that you can use. Facilitated work sessions in a community that keeps you focused and accountable. You know exactly what this is. Even if you don't know what the cave is, even if you aren't sure what a work session is, you're like, okay, getting more stuff done, focused, accountable. And you'll see get a free 7-day trial. Again, all of this is above the scroll, right? When they land. I'll also just note they did something great here. Join thousands of members working smarter and faster in the cave every single day. The thousands of members thing is doing the same thing that the testimonials were on the example page that I showed you, right? It's providing social proof. There are thousands of people that buy this. All right, this is another great one. And also so clean, I think a great example here. There's one color, right? It's this kind of yellowy orange. That's it. There's no other primary color here. This was done with one color and then black and white. And this white is not actually white. I'm pretty sure this white is a tint of this orange color. Any questions about this member sales page? Yeah. More often than not, Shirley says, when it comes to excellent design, less is more, definitely. I like this cave day one. It feels like there's a lot going on, but when you break it down, it's so simple. And it's actually something that most of us could replicate, at least in some versions. All right. So after we have that, we also need a member homepage, right? All the member homepage is where your members will land when they log in and what sends them to other places. We have a couple examples from our MemberSpace users, and then I made a little super quick template just to show you something that took me, I think, quite literally 15 minutes. So you can see how easy this is. With Sarah is one of our MemberSpace users, and she has like a workout, Pilates, yoga streaming platform. And this is the landing page, right? It's a bunch of the videos. This is kind of a blog style, but with videos where you just see these different options. So you get right into the content because that makes sense with what her program is, which is to have you come in and exercise, right? And actually do that thing. Ladies of Real Estate is a little bit different. I scrolled down so you could see it. At the top, there is this great photo, right? There's a little bit of a header. It says, welcome to the community. And down here, everything is that links out. These are all links to other things, social and print templates, agent news center, monthly challenge. And those are just little icons. And those are probably just stock icons from the website or Canva icons. You see how clean and simple that looks, just having these icons as a member page option. So really clear, really simple. This is a simple grid. It doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to be, as I said at the beginning, navigable. They need to be able to find it. And then I made a quick one I will share with y'all for our little fake sample membership. So I just want to show you the member menu. All right, there we are. Look at this, grow your membership. So simple, we're here to help. And you can see this actually is just the exact same thing I had on the sales page, expert members only content. And if I had built this out further, this would be a link. I could also maybe make the photo a link. This would be a link to the RSVP. This would link directly to the Slack community, right? Because this page will be protected, the only people who will see these links are signed in members. So sending them to the private Slack community, for example, from here, that link will just take them directly there. And this is what's so great. On the lower left-hand side, you'll see that there's a member menu. This member menu is something that is set up by default when you use MemberSpace. And a logged in member then will be able to click on this and see their account information and the pages that they have access to. You can decide whether or not a page actually shows up here, but it creates the member navigation. It's also customizable. You'll see that I changed the font and I changed the color. I used one of those blue tones again. So it kind of looks really nice there on this page. And they can just go to the different areas there as well. Oh, great. Shirley put together a quick mock-up page in preparation today. Perfect, right? I mean, of course, you can make this more complicated, but I think it did take me 15 minutes to do, and that included getting the member menu button colors correct in MemberSpace, which is very easy to do. So the whole point of this being, your back end for the membership doesn't need to be fancy. It can be extremely simple. And this, honestly, this is enough to get you started. It doesn't even need pictures. It can be cute little icons like we saw with the ladies of real estate as well. All right. Any questions about that kind of member homepage, the home base for your members when they're logged in? I get that share right. I did not. Yes, I did. 1 second. And okay, great. Again, thank you for your patience. I am having such a little bit of a time with that today. So final thing that we need in the website are the content pages. And content pages are just any other pages that you want to protect for members only. This will depend on what your membership is. And it can really be anything, right? If you aren't clear on what your membership should actually include, I do run a webinar on simple memberships that sell. We'll be doing that again probably in a few weeks. So just keep an eye out for that. And we'll talk a little bit more in that about designing the product of your membership. But here's just a couple simple examples. The Badass Workshop is a kind of self-paced course and training in addition to some other things. That's a MemberSpace customer. And this is one of the pages. It's so simple, right? We have a headline. This is like video number 1. That's a video embed you can see there. And that's it, right? It's just like a simple website page with the content on it. And because this is member protected, again, it's all set. You can see here that at the top, she has built out a bigger navigation system, which can be great. Because of that member menu, you may not need that right away, which again will help you to get your membership site up easier. Here's an example as well. This is a company that is showing people about different hikes, right? And they are also our MemberSpace users. And this is just set up blog style. This is when you land, this is what you see. You get this blog style thing with all of these different hikes and different things you can do. And you can just click into these just like you're on a regular blog, except it's member protected. So it's really that easy to set up. Your MemberSpace, your member content pages don't need to be like fancy, don't need to be anything more than just what is required to deliver the information right out of the gate. One final tip on website design, just make sure you check your website on a mobile device. Most page builders will automatically try to make it mobile friendly, but you may need to make some tweaks, especially if you are putting things like videos or photos on your page. More people use their mobile devices than a desktop to access most of the internet at this point. So it's worth double checking that. So we have one final thing we're going to look at real quick, which is just a quick overview of installing MemberSpace, right? So once you've done all this, we want to make sure you get MemberSpace installed onto your website. It's really easy with MemberSpace to get those members and protect your site ASAP. If you haven't already, all you go to MemberSpace is you're going to create an account. You're going to create your first member plan, which is just how much you're going to charge and what you want to call your membership plan. That's going to be the actual thing that people are buying. You can always change this later and add more. You'll install MemberSpace on your website, and then you'll protect the member pages that we went through today. And you'll add that member plan link to your sales page like I showed you, right? All of how to do this step by step is inside of our support. So I'm not going to go super into it right now, but I just wanted to show you it's this simple. And once it's installed on your MemberSpace website, it's actually so easy to protect member pages. I just want to show you this one thing. All you're going to do is literally put the link of the page here. This will be a pop-up, easy to find. And you can include it on the member menu, which I showed you earlier, and add it. You don't have to do any extra coding. You don't have to like fiddle around on the back end of your website. Once MemberSpace is on the website, you literally just get the URL, plug it in, and MemberSpace will protect it. There are more secure ways to protect through MemberSpace using our content links, but this is a really great, super easy, the fastest way to get your membership site up is to protect pages very simply. If you are not set up with MemberSpace yet, and I know I have a couple of you who are kind of at the very beginning stages of getting started, we have the best support team in the business, like no joke. I highly recommend that you attend our live MemberSpace for Beginners webinar with Roger, who is the head of support. He does it every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and he'll actually walk you through that entire onboarding process and then answer any questions you have. So if you have trouble getting it set up, go to the webinar. We do also, as I mentioned before, have great help documentation that has all sorts of screenshots and videos to help you get this set up. That can all be found at help.memberspace.com. Then you can contact support, right? They are always accessible via the blue help beacon when you're on MemberSpace. They usually respond within an hour during normal working hours, and it's like actual humans who know MemberSpace inside and out. So once you have your membership site built and you're ready to launch, make sure you talk with our support staff and they'll make sure you have everything set up perfectly. And that's it. You're ready to launch your site. We covered everything that you need to get your website launched. And again, in under a day, those handful of small decisions that you need to make, the handful of small pages you need to build, boom, go. We want you to get members as quickly as possible because we succeed when you succeed here at MemberSpace. We do have a great team of support here to help you, as I mentioned. Again, that is our job and our privilege to help you guys grow your membership. So don't hesitate to reach out if we can help you in any way, shape, or form. And especially for those of you who are ready to dive in, if you're on our MemberSpace Pro plan, I do live business coaching in a small group setting every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. It is a small group, so you have to reserve in advance, and you can submit your question in advance and we can dive in. So if you build out your homepage and you want some feedback, you can upgrade to the Pro plan if you're not on it already, and we can look at your sales page together, for example. And then we have that MemberSpace for Beginners webinar with Roger every Tuesday as well. So as you're getting set up, you have all of that ready to go. We have some time for some questions. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to dive in. I see we have a couple things happening let's see. So yeah, Matt Page has just dropped that link for the webinar there, and Roger is going to be able to answer all your questions. I do know that, yeah, okay, Paige answered your question well about using Notion. So there is a specific way that it connects to MemberSpace, but we have quite a few people who do use Notion with MemberSpace. Personally, I know a lot of my clients love Notion for themselves in terms of how they're actually, like how it presents. So using it for membership, I think is such a great idea, but there is that extra step that Paige mentioned there. Then if you have any issues or you have any problems, you can definitely respond or reach out to our support team, and they will be able to help you getting that set up. And Paige has also dropped the link for the MemberSpace coaching as well. Okay, do we have any other questions about what we covered today or about building your membership website and getting that up quick and easy? I am here and happy to help. Shirley, I don't believe the recordings of previous MemberSpace for Beginners because he does it every week. But a lot of that information is in the help.memberspace.com documentation. So that has basically all the same information, just in a different setting. There's a whole section on how to do onboarding there, but Paige can correct me if I'm mistaken about the recording. I don't think that there is one though, but there's a video of all the onboarding too. Any other questions about getting your membership set up and ready to go? Okay, yeah. So Paige is confirming there are no recordings for the MemberSpace for Beginners webinar, but the same one is hosted every Tuesday. And then if you can't come on a Tuesday, the documentation support really covers all the same information. And there are some really great videos showing you like how to get around and figure everything out. And Paige is dropping those help documents right now into the chat. All right, y'all. I'm just going to chat for a second and give you a second in case you have any other questions. But please keep an eye out. We do have more webinars that we are running to help you to grow your membership business. And you are welcome, of course, to join us for the coaching as well. On Thursdays, I would love to see you there and see what you've been working on and help you refine any copy or clarify anything. At the end of this webinar, if you hang around for just a second, once we finish up, there will be a really quick survey that'll just help me to improve and know how I've helped you and if I can do anything to make this more useful for you in the future. So if you just take 2 seconds to fill that out as we close, we would really appreciate it. It just helps us to serve you better. And I really am so grateful that you guys have been here today. Last call for any other membership site launch questions. Oh, and great. Paige just dropped the link for the overview of MemberSpace with a video there as well. Thank you so much, Paige. And Paige is also, yes, we do also have a free community on Facebook groups for membership business owners. So if you would like to continue the conversation there and get more support, we can do it there as well. All right, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up then. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our support team. They are there to help, and they will help you get all of this set up and direct you to all the resources that you need. I hope I'll see you on another webinar or at coaching soon. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much. Bye for now.